All right, welcome back. This morning, I'm joined by Dr. Elizabeth Hagblade, a Santa Barbara-based author that immigrated to the U.S. from Germany. She recently released her memoir titled Trautrose, Growing Up in Postwar Munich, and is here to share her story with us. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, I want to start off by you telling our viewers a little bit about your book.
Yes, my book is about ordinary Germans living in Munich during extraordinary times, the post-war years. Much has been written about World War II, but not so much about the post-war years. And I challenge the prevailing view that those were positive times for the Germans, because immediately after the war, people were absolutely exhausted. They were facing the rubble of their destroyed cities and refugees pouring in from the east. And the Marshall Plan was not yet in effect. That did not come until 1949, 1950. So that meant there were 4 or 5 years without help. Those were known as the Hunger Years. And it's against this background that I grew up as a foster child in a family of a former SS officer, and later in a home that was run by Catholic sisters. So I describe how we survived, where we lived, how I handled school days. And I also drew pictures, if you will, of people I knew who survived the war, how they were marked by it and what became of them. I then emigrated to the United States at age 18 without family support, without knowledge of English, and I tried to find work. I became literate in English finally, and I read about Germany. I read about atrocities and the Holocaust, things I had not known before, and I felt very ambivalent about my home country. But Germany had changed too. It is now incorporating the study of the Holocaust in its school curriculum. And so that engendered conversations among generations. The young questioning their grandparents, their parents about the war.
And it's just an incredible story about resiliency, and
yes,
it's as if like you are filling in that gap for a perspective that was not told before. And my question is, what inspired you to write this memoir? Why did you decide to do that?
Well, it is actually comments that I heard of people in this country about the post-war years, and those views were so different from the experiences that I had. So I started to take notes a long time ago on 3x5 cards before the computer age. And so I accumulated kind of a history about that time.
And talking about Santa Barbara specifically, now you live here. Why Santa Barbara, and how long have you been here, and what has this community meant to you?
I've been here 20 years. My husband had looked at retirement communities and he liked what he saw. We were intrigued by the history of Santa Barbara, its architecture, its artistic community, and the academic offerings. And also the people themselves, the interest that they take in preserving land like San Marcos foothills, for example. And also the effort that is made in extending public housing to its employees, to people with lower incomes, and the homeless.
And lastly, what advice do you have to someone that may be going through a similar situation as you did, you know, moving countries and just going through just a really intense upbringing?
Well, one way to do it is to keep a diary, to keep notes, and to keep reading and informing yourself, and taking a lot of encouragement from work. I often said that more than once a life has been saved simply by going to work. You have to show up on time, you have to be there, you have to produce.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today to talk about your memoir. I mean, this is just a small snippet of your incredible story and the memoir that you have written as well. So I do appreciate your time. And if you want more information, we will have a link to her website and to this book on our mobile app and website. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.